A good journalist is not the one that writes what people say, but the one that writes what he or she is supposed to write. With these words, on behalf of Amity School of Communication, I, Pragati Pallavi, welcome to all the eminent people, our guests, and our much-loved students to this guest lecture titled Mediated Pandemic Media Literacy During COVID-19. A very warm good morning to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. T.R. Venkatesh, sir, respected Pro Vice Chancellor, Dr. Vivekanand Pandey, sir, Siddharth, sir, Sushil, sir, Shwetapriya, ma'am, and all my esteemed colleagues. How informed we are, our consciousness of our media consumption is vital to understanding its effects on us as member of society. So to talk on media literacy, I invite our chief guest, Professor Shashidhar Nanjundaya. Mr. Shashidhar Nanjundaya is a nationally reputed educator and media professional, an internationally published media commentator, an internationally awarded researcher. He is regarded as one of the pioneers in the private media and communication education in India for his efforts in revamping curricular approaches and bringing in progressive system of delivery in 2000s. He has been the director of Symbiosis Institute of Mass Communication, Pune, founding director of Indira School of Communication, Pune, first dean of India Today Media Institute, Noida, chief storytelling officer at NZen Global, Bangalore, managing editor of the Indian Express North American edition, New York. As a social entrepreneur, Professor Nanjundaya's current interests lie in responsible media literacy. He has been on the jury of scholarly conferences on media literacy. He has been invited to conduct lectures at various colleges on media literacy and continues to conduct workshops on media literacy to develop media literacy in the digital age and raising awareness about fake news and misinformations. He is a columnist at reputed national dailies and an invited speaker at conferences and seminars. Professor was one of the first researchers on the India's post-liberalization media communication policy and its impacts on content strategy. His recent research has examined the communication management of Donald Trump's campaign rhetoric and India's news television engagement strategies. He has an MS in corporate and professional communication with top honors from Radford University, USA, an MA in English with fourth rank, and a BSc in physics from the University of Mysore, India. He has an unfinished PhD in mass communication from Southern Illinois University, USA. I welcome you, sir, and over to you, sir.
Thank you so much for the glowing introduction, Professor Pragati. It's an honor to be here at Amity. Professor Shweta, thank you so much for your kind invitation. Thank you, Vice Chancellor, everybody else who's involved in this program, and to Amity School of Communication, which is not a stranger to me. I have been there in Noida. I know the people there, so it's not a strange place for me at all. It feels like coming back home. So thank you for the invitation. Thanks for having me. As you rightly said, Professor Pragati, media literacy is very close to my heart now, because I feel that more than any other kind of pandemic-related solutions, which communicators cannot provide, only doctors can provide that. Communicators can provide a communication solution to a communication problem in the world. And the biggest communication problem in the world today is something that we call infodemic, right? I mean, it's been there, everybody's using that term. There are theories, there is everything going on. So on the one hand, you have the pandemic, you have COVID-19, people dying. And on the other hand, you have the infodemic, you have people getting misinformed all the while from their cousins and their uncles and all kinds of WhatsApp groups. What do we do? I was reading this book. I don't know if it's visible because my background is a little blocked. And it
yes, sir, now it's visible, sir. When you are keeping it a little away, it's blurred. Now it's visible, sir.
This book, I don't know if it's available in India. I'm sitting here in the US. COVID-19 conspiracy theories it begins very, very interestingly. In one of the first chapters, I just read one line from it. It says, conspiracy theories are often shared among people who lack or feel that they lack social power. So what is, like, what is a conspiracy theory? Basically, a conspiracy theory is something that is not mainstream. Nobody can say conspiracy theory is false. They are very careful, because what happens if conspiracy theories are correct? In the end, you can't say, oh, we always said it was false, and suddenly you find out it's true. What about UFOs, for example, right? Now the US government has commissioned its, or decommissioned some of, or declassified some of its documents, which earlier said that UFOs exist, unidentified flying objects, like from, I don't know, another galaxy, just coming down, like ET, like extraterrestrial beings. And actually people are saying, oh, wait, at that time they had said it was all bakwas. Now it's actually coming to be possibly true. I mean, people are saying that it might even be true. So how do you trust anything at all these days without actually having to having the tools of verification? That's why the social power that these people talk about is very important, very interesting. And how does social power means what? I don't have the power to have my say in society. So what do? I use social media. I use whatever tools I have at my hand and shock people, with whatever I have. So it's my power. It's my show of power, in a way. That's what they're saying. So that is so all this happens in a mediated form, right? Remember that I'm going to now share my screen. So remember that everything that we do today, arguably, is mediated. There are scholars who say that there's a person, especially my favorite person who said this was Mark Doisy, professor in the Netherlands. He says that we live a media life. मतलब हम media में ही घुल गए. मतलब there is no difference between a media life and other life. Everything that we do is related to the media. Even if I go and buy a cake of soap, it is because of the media that I did that. Something told me. If it's not media, then it's a social media, correct? Somebody is raising their hand. I don't know. Okay, so let me at least, so somebody with the same name as me. Okay, they're gone now. So we are safe. So that's why I called this, and I've been using this term for about a year now, mediated pandemic. How we understand COVID-19 through the media is how we also translate that meaning into various, whatever we do in life, right? So when we say mediated pandemic, I'm not saying that media is causing the pandemic, right? Media is part of this pandemic. I was watching a movie today, and the movie, there's one dialogue in that movie. It says, oh, actually, this is a documentary. Shweta, ma'am, you really, if you can get hold of this documentary, your students must watch this. It's called Control Room. It's about Al Jazeera, the channel. And it's made, by the way, by students, which is why I'm recommending it to you, by the students of American University in Cairo. Fantastic. One of the best documentaries I've seen. It's about the Iraq war. It's nothing to do with the pandemic, but it's a great documentary. In that documentary, one of the people in it, they're saying, so the media is not being given correct information by the military operations people from the US. Typical, right? So the one guy from the BBC barges in and says, you are not doing this right. It is as much a media operation as it is a military operation. Think about that. Think about the power of that. You are going into a war zone. By the way, a lot of you who will become journalists, all right, will have that unique opportunity to become reporters. And becoming reporters means reporting from the field. And the field could be a war field. And very few people have that opportunity to do it. But if you get that chance, it's a once in a lifetime chance, because wars are also once in a lifetime these days. But the fact that you are running your own operation in parallel to a military operation, it's the same thing with the COVID-19. The media has to run its own operation while the pandemic and the doctors are running and the governments are running another operation in parallel. That is the main operation, right? But the media has a huge role to play, because it is the one that's informing all of us what's going on. Otherwise, we wouldn't know, right? But that is the pretty side of things, right? Rosy garden, sab theek hai, right? That's it. This is that side of the picture. Let's get to the other sides of the picture. The World Health Organization in last year, right? It said that the COVID-19 outbreak and response has been accompanied by a massive infodemic, like information pandemic, right? Which is basically, how did it define infodemic? It's an overabundance, not just abundance, it's overabundance, matlab most best of information, some accurate and some not accurate, that makes it hard for people to find trustworthy sources and reliable guidance when they need it. Look how it is worded. It doesn't say that it's only misinformation. It says that you don't know what is misinformation. It says that in all this overabundance of information, you don't know whom to trust and whom not to trust. That is the problem. The problem is not misinformation. Once you know it is misinformation, there's no problem, right? You know you have to avoid it. How do you know it is misinformation? Act is infodemic. So let's take a step back. You're all media or at least mass communication students, and I'm sure that your professors either have already enlightened you or will be enlightening you about how messages and meanings are constructed. Message and meaning. These are the two ends of the spectrum in any communication, right? Somebody constructs a message, sends it across, and I receive the meaning. I construct the meaning. That is how communication is transmitted, correct? And there is good communication, bad communication. There's a lot of noise. So the meaning constructed is not the same as the message constructed. It's a problem, right? So first you create the message, then you produce the message, then the message flows across a medium. It is consumed. It is interpreted. And by the way, I use the word consume in a non-commercial way. A lot of scholars have problems with the word consumption, but I don't use it in that way. I'm just saying consumption of message, that's all. Interpretation, that means how I derive the meaning. And this is what Harold Lasswell didn't say, relay. That's what we do. Remember, we can't forget the fact that we also relay the same information forward. So instead of a linear model of communication, now we have a non-linear model of communication. This is how I interpret it. So you have sources, right? You have your people who provide that information to the media. Media provides information, and the social media user becomes the source of that information. That is the relay part of it. You relay the information forward on social media to the end user. Of course, the end user again is possibly the user of social media as a source of that social media. And then it goes back to the sources, because the sources use what you are saying in order to construct their messages. So this is a kind of a cyclical, it's become cyclical now. Remember how media, like for example, television channels are actually using Twitter information as news, right? Where does it come from? It comes from the cycle. Like the user is giving news back to the media. The media is giving news again. So what happens? The consumer is also the producer, and the producer is also the consumer. Does that make sense? Consumer is also the producer, right? I'm relaying the news. Let's call it producer. I mean, in my like academic terms, I call it reproducer, because I'm not supposed to be producing information, because I don't have the legitimacy to do it. I don't have the power to do it. But I'm certainly a reproducer. So here, for simplicity's sake, I'm calling it producer. The producer, like for example, the media production houses, they're also the consumer, because they listen to social media, they watch social media, they, half their time they're basically on social media, right? So here is a term that I have coined for it. I call it media prosumerism. Prosumer is producer plus consumer. So prosumer. Prosumerism is not a new word. Media prosumerism is a new word which I'm bringing into existence. But prosumer is used in electrical engineering. Essentially, prosumer means in the larger cities in India, and most of the developed countries now have, your house is connected two-way to the electrical grid. That means that you receive electricity from the grid, right? From when it is generated and transmitted. But you also give back, because you may have a solar panel on your house, you generate electricity and you give it back to the grid. So you are both a producer and a consumer of electricity. That's how it came. So switching gears now, what are we talking about? Media literacy is an understanding of what media does to me. What media does to me, as Professor Pragati was saying in her introductory remarks. Right? What is the influence? What is the effect? And my decisions, if I go out and buy a pair of jeans, is that actually a media decision that I'm actually making? Who am I as a media prosumer? Why? I mean, each one of these is basically a chapter in itself. I'm not going into this because we are not talking about this per se. Why I'm responsible for content, right? Or I must be responsible. Where my choices are, what am I supposed to be relaying, for example, or consuming, right? Where are those opportunities? And an understanding of when media is trying to push opinion as fact, for example, right? This is the key to how mediated pandemic can happen. That means that if you don't understand what media is trying to do in terms of not giving you the fact, but giving you something that it says is fact, or it pretends to be fact. It's not even saying that, but I'm somehow understanding that as fact because it's coming from media, it's coming from a legitimate source, right? Without understanding that the media also gives me more than just facts, right? And how media systems work. So in anybody who uses social media today as a prosumer usually knows this part in terms of the actual production, how it actually happens. But many of them, unlike you, many of them don't know how production actually happens. Who controls the information? Where does it come from? What does the editor do? What does the reporter do? How does it get into a channel, etc. So the mainstream media production part, most of them don't know, but it's important to know that so that the other questions are answered. Did you see what I did there? These are the 6 questions every journalist has to ask in their stories. They're called the 5 W's and 1 H, right? These are the questions. So media literacy is a systematic understanding of my role in a mediated world. As a media prosumer, what am I supposed to do? What is my role? I'm already surrounded by media, but do I have a role apart from just consuming and reproducing? So the basic assumptions we make about media systems, this I'll just skim very quickly, that we live in a democracy. Freedom is a good thing, and choice is a good thing. Freedom only means choice. Freedom doesn't mean anything else. We have the choice between X and Y, A and B, BJP or Congress, nothing else, right? So we don't have endless options. That would be real freedom, correct? But we don't have that. Correct information is a good thing. Fake news is a bad thing. Why am I putting it up there? Because a lot of people actually say that I don't need correct information. Believe it or not, people have told me this. And media systems operate independent of government and authorities. Generally, this is an assumption we're making because of number one there, democracy. So remember that these are basic assumptions we're making with any argument. If you change the model, everything changes. If this democratic model changes, everything changes, right? So this is a pivot. So first, we are going to talk about the fact that we are living in a media dependent world. We learn about our world from the media. And now there is something called the new media dependency. We also learn about our world from the social media. Everybody talks only bad things about social media. Social media is one of the best things that happened to your generation because it tells you so much. It's one of the worst things that happened to my generation because I don't know how to use it. My generation doesn't know how to use it. 50 plus people, they're still struggling. They might say, "Arey, hum to king hai," but they're still struggling. Believe it or not, they don't know what social media, they don't know the complete story. Unless they're in the media itself, then they will. Second premise, we are confronted with a problem of plenty because of that whole, production, reproduction, consumption cycle. Premise 3 is belief is the new knowledge. That means there used to be a theory called knowledge gap theory. And that may or may not be taught to you later. But now people are saying that, so there is a knowledge gap in society always, right? Somebody knows something, somebody doesn't know something. So somebody who knows, there's somebody who doesn't know is always trying to catch up with somebody who knows. But now what's happening is it's more about belief. Do you believe what this person is saying? Do you believe what the influencer number X is saying? Or do you not believe? Rather than treating it as knowledge, we are treating it as I believe in it. And therefore, that is information for me. Premise 4 is media narratives in a pandemic resonate with official sources. This is the most important one that we are going to take forward today. Because we don't have that much time, we're just going to skip to this. I mean, you should have guessed it. But this is basically what's done. This is, of course, scientifically surveyed and everything, right? So this is a figure from 2019, but 2021 they actually these guys, Reuters Institute and Oxford University, did this survey for the first time in India, and it was probably a little more than this. This is interesting, right? On the one hand, you are consuming a lot of social media information. On the other hand, your trust in mainstream media is declining. Right? Look at that correlation. There may be no causation. Like I'm not saying that this is the reason that is happening, but both are happening in parallel. One is declining, one is going up. Right? So during a pandemic like this, there are plenty of issues, communication related issues like this, and media illiteracy is one of the top ones that we are going to talk about through various voices, such as Rajdeep's voice right here. And I'm going to take the advice of you and mute myself.
The corona age is a great opportunity for us in the media to course correct. In the recent past, what we've seen is an overload, not just of information, but also of fake news. This is an era where fake news travels instantaneously in real time. The so-called WhatsApp university. Put something on WhatsApp, millions are responding to it. It could be a fake video or it could be fake information. And we are seeing even in Corona times, lots of fake videos are floating around. Only 2 days ago on the occasion of Eid, or just before Eid, we saw lots of videos of people shopping with no social distancing and questions being raised. Where is the Mumbai police? As if this had happened in Mumbai. Later on, it turned out that this had happened in Pakistan, nothing to do with Mumbai. But by then, there was an entire frenzy created around the fact that on Eid there was, or just ahead of Eid, there was no social distancing. It required a fact checker to go through the video, check the facts, and put it before the people. This is the importance, I believe, of fact checking in this COVID era. Lots of claims are made about vaccines, about drugs. You need to check them.
All of us, we come from a different time, different space. When I was growing up, when I was in school, college, we hardly had mobile phones. We certainly didn't have WhatsApp and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and so many other things that all of the younger people today seem to use. And that means that there is a news explosion. And this is not only for media students, for everyone. For instance, in the last few days, if I can talk about that, one clip that has been sent to me continuously for verification by a host of people, by my mama, by an elderly person, by somebody who's young, or my school group, and Instagram, and so many other things that all of the younger people today seem to use. And that means that there is a news explosion. And this is not only for media students, for everyone. For instance, in the last few days, if I can talk about that, one clip that has been sent to me continuously for verification by a host of people, by my mama, by an elderly person, by somebody who's young, or my school group, are images of migrant workers vandalizing some vehicles, some property, attacking some people. Now it's been shared to me or sent to me saying that this is somebody said it's from Uttar Pradesh, somebody even said it's from Delhi, then someone said it's from Bihar. It was originally from Rajkot in Gujarat, but this is how it was sent to me. And in some instances, it was forwarded on groups where it was said that this is from XXX location. In other instances, I was asked to verify it. When I verified, I found that this is from Rajkot in Gujarat. The incident did happen, but the time and context of what happened was very, very important. And that's something that we tend to lose scope of when we get this news explosion from various groups on our social media platforms. Now, it is very, very important to maintain responsible media literacy, because unless you are aware of what's going on around you, and unless you can actually filter all the information that's coming in from various mediums, there is going to be no use of, or at least there's going to be no way you can actually believe the information that's coming in.
So listen to what both Rajdeep and Alok were talking about. Questions, again, whether you are going to be a journalist or PR person, advertising person, whatever, as a communicator, those questions are more important than the answers. When did something happen? Where did something happen? They're usually lost, especially when it comes to fake news. We're not talking about fake news today, but you need to remember these questions. These are the questions that you may need to ask every time when you see a story. This you may not be familiar with, but so it said, remember what they said about animals? They said, some rare kind of iguana or something had come to the streets of Cochin during lockdown. And this one from CNBC, not CNBC in India, CNBC in the US, it says that somebody sent them this picture as if it's something very unusual. In India, इंसान से ज्यादा बंदर नजर आते हैं. You know, there are more animals that you can see, but they are showing, because it's unusual for them, they think it's unusual for us. They're saying that these monkeys have come because of lockdown, but we see monkeys every day. I see monkeys every day in Bangalore where I was. Certainly in Delhi, we've seen a lot of monkeys. There's nothing unusual, right? So that's the point here. I don't know if you even know this, but quick.
बात करेंगे कोरोना के झूठों की। पंजाब के कई गांवों में यह अफवाह सुनने को आ रही है कि गांव के अंदर कोरोना पॉजिटिव लोग घुस आए हैं। ये लोग घर घर जाकर दरवाजे खटखटाते हैं और जैसे ही कोई बाहर निकलता है उस पर थूक देते हैं। थूकने के कारण दरवाज़ा खोलने वालों पर भी कोरोना वायरस का संक्रमण हो जाता है। ऐसी बातों ने लोगों में डर भर दिया। चंडीगढ़ के पास नया गांव में लोग इन अफवाहों के चलते हथियार लेकर सड़कों पर आ गए और पहरेदारी करने लगे। बाद में पुलिस को कहना पड़ा कि ये अफवाह है और जिन लोगों ने फैलाई है उन पर कार्रवाई करेंगे। अफवाहें हरियाणा के फतेहाबाद के भूना इलाके में भी फैली, जहां लोग सड़कों पर आ गए और पुलिस को खंडन करना पड़ा। उधर झारखंड के हजारीबाग के गांव में ऐसी अफवाह फैली जो कोरोना वायरस का खतरा और बढ़ा देती है। वहां महिलाओं से कहा गया कि अगर वो गांव के नदी या तालाब में नहाने के बाद गाना गाते हुए गांव के शिव मंदिर या फिर देवी मंदिर में जाकर पूजा अर्चना करें तो पूरे गांव में कोरोना वायरस नहीं फैलेगा। जबकि सत्य ये है कि ऐसे बाहर निकलना न सिर्फ महिलाओं बल्कि पूरे परिवार को खतरे में डाल सकता है। लॉकडाउन तो टूटेगा ही, मंदिर पर भीड़ जुटने से कई लोग खतरे में पड़ जाएंगे। हमारे एक पाठक हैं सौरभ सिंह, उन्होंने ट्विटर के जरिए हम तक एक तस्वीर पहुंचाई, साथ ही बताया कि बिहार के छपरा और गोबराही के इलाकों में क्या अफवाह फैली है। क्या बताया? पीढ़े या चौकी पर बेलन को खड़ा किया जाए तो कोरोना वायरस नहीं होता। कहा जाता है कि गंगा जल से बेलन और चौकी को धोकर उस पर बेलन खड़ा करें। अगर बेलन चौकी पे खड़ा हो गया तो वायरस नहीं फैलेगा और फिर इस चौकी बेलन पर मिठाई चढ़ाकर आसपास प्रसाद बांटा जाए।
So, I mean, go on and on and on. We've heard all this, so I won't play too much of it, although it's great fun listening to it now. Especially for you guys, this is all fun. And you know that it's fake news, but it's coming from somewhere. Remember, fake news was not invented today. Neither were conspiracy theories. They've been there for centuries. It's just because of social media that we see them more now. And when you print something, you remember that social power that we talked about in the beginning? It gives you power. The more power it gives you, the more you want to say something, right? So there are lots of these myths. Now, I want to come to the twist. How much of these myth busting is actually accurate? Think about it, right? 6 myths about COVID-19 vaccine. अरे आपको कैसे पता? Who told you? Doctors told you. Tomorrow the same doctor will come and tell you that नहीं नहीं वो ना उसी वैक्सीन वही वैक्सीन जो है उसको लेने से हार्ट अटैक आ जाता है या blood clot हो जाता है. This is actually true. Blood clot actually is happening, and in the US, the CDC has ordered an inquiry into one of the vaccines producing blood clots. Another vaccine is giving something called breakthrough cases. That means आपने वैक्सीन दिया फिर भी कोरोना हो रहा है. So what is the, so people, when you wanted people to take vaccines, you told them vaccine ले लो, कुछ नहीं होगा and सब कुछ कोरोना भाग गया and all that. लेने के बाद आपको बताया जाता है कि एक्चुअली ना कोरोना फिर भी हो सकता है लेकिन आप मरोगे नहीं. So people are getting more and more worked up about this. That is why the faith and the trust in the media is going down, because the faith and the trust in Modi ji will never go down. Let me explain what I mean. I want you to listen to this carefully, not in terms of just the content, but the tone and the content.
There is another one. Again, misinformation but popular. This one says that COVID vaccine is a ploy by the government to control population. This is again heard a number of times in rural India in conversations that happen over there. Myth number 9, this one, extremely bizarre, says that the COVID vaccine has some inbuilt microchips that help the United States government to track citizens. Now, God knows where is science in all of this, but we'll return to this as well. And then finally, there is this extremely popular one which says that the COVID vaccine is a ploy by China to alter and manipulate the human race. Now, I don't know your reaction to all of these, but any right-thinking person would know that these are all false. But again, this is a belief for many in rural India. There is another one. Again,
How many people in rural India really have these myths? First of all, I have that question for Sonal. The second is, did you notice how the media and NDTV in this case was trying to make it like an urban versus rural India to urban India, because she's from urban India. Did you look at her? Did you see the tone? Did you see the kind of contemptuous attitude she has towards people who are spreading these myths? Urban India is just as bad as rural India. There's nothing better about urban India. My uncles, my cousins, your, 2 generations up, people, they are the ones who are spreading this. There's nothing about rural or urban, right? And by the way, I will not run this. We are running out of time now. But India now is the top source for COVID fake news. Congratulations. That brings us to who's actually responsible. Now, you and I are on social media, right? How can anybody stop anybody on the street saying anything? After all, we do have freedom of speech and we can say whatever we want. Worst comes to worst, if you say something on social media, Facebook will ban you for 3 days. That's it. That's the worst that can happen. But what an official source tells us is a very different story. What the official source tells us, it stays official. If somebody official tells me something, I'm almost bound to believe it. Who has to ask the questions of the official sources? Think about it. If you have a question, you can't ask them because they're speaking to you via the media. So the media has to ask the questions, right? That means you, ultimately, when you graduate.
Well, listen into that.
उसको भारत के उद्यमियों ने और भारत के इनोवेटर्स ने एक अवसर में बदला और कैसे एक नई होम ग्रोन वेंटिलेटर इंडस्ट्री भारत में कायम हुई। जो सबसे बड़ी खबर इस सप्ताह की है वो ये है कि भारतवर्ष में अब तक हमने 2 करोड़ टेस्ट कर लिए हैं। इसमें
Sometimes channels play mischief, and this is one of those times. The spokesperson of the health ministry, so if you look at the screen before this, you will think that this is coming from the spokesperson. This thing on the left side, coronavirus cases in India cross 18.5 lakh mark. This is from last year, right? But actually he doesn't even touch upon that. He's talking about
ये है कि भारतवर्ष में अब तक हमने 2 करोड़ टेस्ट कर लिए हैं। इसमें RT-PCR और रैपिड एंटीजन टेस्ट शामिल हैं। पिछले 24 घंटों में हमने 6,60,000 टेस्ट देश भर में किए हैं और जो रिकवर्ड केसेस हैं उनकी संख्या अब एक्टिव केसेस के दुगने से भी ज्यादा हो गई है।
Basically what happened is that the channel was playing how many cases of COVID there are in India right now. As the spokesperson of the government didn't even touch upon that, and he's giving statistics to the media about how our country has achieved so many vaccines, how our industrialists have taken advantage of the COVID. Actually, he said that. Did you listen to him? He actually said it, that they have converted this into an opportunity. So the problematic part about this is that the media, if the media just listens to the official sources, we are only going to get half the story. That is what the media is realizing now. That is why you saw the split screen there, where India Today, thankfully, put up statistics of COVID cases along with what the government was saying. Very clever of them and very brave, actually. Okay, so this is basically what it is, and this is basically what it is. So this is September 2020, when the government claimed we had the highest rate. It was not the highest. This is from this year, where we have not reported 3.4 million COVID cases according to many studies. Now, whether you believe that or whether you believe the government, that is up to you. That is why I said this is not about knowledge. This is about belief, right? Now, how do you get these figures? How do you know they're over-reporting? You extrapolate, sampling, right? There's a problem with that also. So it may not be accurate, but at least you know that there has been underreporting, right? So now, this whole thing about migrant workers, you remember that controversy about why there was no, the government said, we don't have any data. How can we not have data? But if you don't have data, that means that was there something because of which you could not collect the data? There was no, we did not get to know that. That is why the media is saying this, and people who believe that the official sources, the government, is right, because they are the ones who are giving us the information via the media. We should believe them, not the media. Media is giving us all false information. The government is giving us the right information. So one is not right and one is not wrong. Both are right, both are wrong. You have to look at different perspectives. If you watch NDTV, you must also watch Republic. If you watch India TV, India Today TV or Aaj Tak, you must also watch another channel such as CNN, what's it called now? News 18, right? That is the only way you can actually get the entire story. Trump said that, oh, I actually said something and then I overplayed it. He's so casual about it. 3 days later, he's caused havoc by saying that, the coronavirus is nothing, don't wear masks. This was Trump's thing. In the United States, where I am right now, people just don't wear masks because Trump told them to, not to, right? And right here where I live is the highest number of cases of COVID, or percentage per million, in the entire state, because it's very rural. So as media people, and by the way, here I'm addressing the faculty, I'm addressing anybody who's listening in that either belongs to the media or are going to be media persons. This is why, remember we said there is a pandemic where you have to break the chain, right? The government has been making efforts to break that chain. That's how you end the pandemic. Who will break the infodemic chain? Who will break the chain of media illiteracy? You, me. Why? Because we are a little more informed than the Aam Nagrik. Because we are supposed to understand the media better than others. Even if we are on the social media, we are not the people who should be spreading misinformation, right? I have hardly seen too many journalists who spread misinformation. They will spread opinion. They will say, Arey, Rahul Gandhi Pappu. I mean, they will not say that, but they will say something to the effect that Rahul Gandhi is no good. They will actually say that Modi is no good. That's okay. That's their personal opinion, right? They have a, so you as media people understand the difference between opinion and fact. A lot of people don't. That is why they don't trust the media. Just because Rajdeep said something on Twitter makes him a bad person as an anchor, where he's not, he's being absolutely balanced. But people don't see that. People are looking at him because he said something on Twitter. Right? Same way. I mean, same with Arnab, same, not with Arnab, but everybody else. I keep saying that we all know how to look for these things, but essentially, what do you look for in a news story? The when, is the date current or is it old news? Look at that. Where is the location verifiable? Is it Pakistan or is it Mumbai? Is the story built around an image that looks suspect? There's a lot of that floating around, right? Because it's so easy now with Photoshop and deepfakes. You can put anybody's face on anything, make it look like anything else. You know me, I distrust images to begin with. Like on face value, I will distrust it. Then I will go around verifying if I have to, if I have the interest. If I don't have the interest, bhaiya, why would I verify? It doesn't matter to me. If it doesn't matter to me, leave it now. Does the story use the verification method? Here again, you have to check if the story is actually asking those questions that a journalist is supposed to ask, right? And does the story have a source? Aise utha ke. So the source, and who's there for the source, right? So these things are happening, and you will see that stories written on the online desk are sometimes unusually badly written, and they may be badly written. Usually they're well researched, but sometimes they're not well researched either. And badly written stories are always your first suspect, right? Whoever has forwarded you a story, suspect that story first. That is the one story that you cannot really trust, right? That is the only story you need to actually verify. Any story that the media is giving you, you consume it. Don't take it as the gospel truth forever. If they say that vaccine is the best thing that ever happened to humanity, take it with a pinch of salt. Take it, pehle bhi suna hai. I'm sure that it's 99% safe, but that 1% I'm going to hear in 1 month, because they are only telling us now whatever the doctor is saying, and that too sensationalized bana ke kuch bol diya. एक महीने बाद यही लोग उस स्टोरी को नहीं दिखाएंगे जो 1 महीना पहले दिखाए थे. 1 महीने बाद स्टोरी जो चेंज हो गया वही चेंज स्टोरी ही दिखाएंगे आपको, जैसे कि वो पिछला वाला स्टोरी था ही नहीं. So please remember, this is how the media operates, because that is how the media is. It is not the media's fault. It is actually how the media is operating. The production. So there are different kinds of biases which we will not go to. So this one is an actual production bias. It's a structural bias. Remember the Massmore code. This is basically because you're mass communication students. Motivation, angle, strategy, message, ownership. I can always share these things with you. You don't have to take notes with Shweta ma'am, and if you think you can benefit from it. That this is basically these are the 5 W's and the H that we talked about, right? The questions: when, where, who, why, what, and how. So media literacy is the role of every media educated citizen. I will not go into this right now. As students of media, it's your responsibility to help society be more media literate. You can start small. Just start within your local communities. Make sure that people understand that there is something called media literacy. There is something that they should know that they don't know. Actually, the problem is people don't know that they don't know. People, Arabic mein proverb hai. He who knows he who knows and knows he knows is a wise man, follow him. So this is a case of he who doesn't know and doesn't know he doesn't know. So you are the one who has to educate people around you, right? Don't keep silent. And this is you're the first batch of people that I'm actually campaigning this with. A lot of students, I tell them, but I don't actually campaign. But this is the first time I think I now have the voice to do this with you. And I'm always available to talk with you, to give you suggestions on how to take these things forward, stop the infodemic, break the chain, right? Thank you. It looks like we already have one question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, there is a question, sir, from, I'll speak. Sir, Dipali, first year, she's asking that, do you think that mainstream media is playing a relevant role in this dissemination of information? If yes, then why people are shifting to social media or other websites for authentic news? So this question is from Dipali, first year.
Part of what you asked, Dipali, was already answered in my talk, but I'll let me stop sharing the screen first. 1 second. How do I do it? Is this so? I in my talk, remember, Dipali, that I gave examples of both good media coverage and bad media coverage. You saw that response. I found it really responsible when a media channel takes up that issue that, look, the government is not telling you this, but we will tell you this. That's responsibility, isn't it? That is how, in fact, that is how I expect you to be, Dipali. If somebody is telling you that ye hai, तो आपको ये सोचना है कि ये भी है, not ये नहीं है. That is not the kind of misinformation we are getting right now. The kind of misinformation you and I are getting is one side of the story. What is the other side? Yeah, responsibility, and it's not just the media. So that is one. So that is one part of this whole issue of media responsibility. The other part of media responsibility is as citizens and as consumers. Remember, we are no longer consumers, but we are prosumers. So we, as prosumers, we are also the producers of information. How much information are we gathering? How much are we taking advantage of the social media? And whether we trust the social media or trust the media is not the question here. Why will I not go to social media? It's free, it's available, and it's easy. I get a voice. I get the power to disseminate. Why will I not go? But the reason that the trust in the media, mainstream media, is declining is largely because the media doesn't do the kind of responsible journalism that we showed you. The example that I showed you doesn't always happen. That is the problem. And when that doesn't happen, people will point it out. So, for example, if you're watching one channel and it is showing something that another channel did not show, then you'll say, देखा, उस channel ने दिखाया नहीं, ये anti है, ये pro है. You know, so you need to stop thinking of those binaries and say that, of course, hai to hai. So yeah, so Republic is pro BJP. तू दिखाएगा ना? क्यों नहीं दिखाएगा? There is no way that anybody can mistake Arnab Goswami for anti-BJP, right? वो तो totally मतलब. So you know that what Arnab is going to say is going to be pro-BJP. So why dispute it? तो वो खुद ही बोल रहा है ना. There's nothing. He doesn't have to show you everything. Today's journalism, you don't have to show everything. You don't have to balance. The balance ka concept gaya. That's because you have so many channels that show all sides of the stories. So you watch some other. That's why I was saying that you can't. एक channel से आपका मन का पेट नहीं भर सकता या knowledge का पेट नहीं भर सकता. So you have to, especially as media literates, right? That's your job. There are several other questions, but I could have gone into more. You're muted, Professor. You're muted.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. There's one more question from Samiksha. She's from 5th semester. She's asking that as we all know that the rise of fake news is also evolving day by day. Don't you think it's a high time for us and the education system to make the children of our society media literate from the earlier days of their childhood?
What a beautiful concept. Exactly. What was the name again?
Samiksha, 5th semester, sir.
Samiksha. Absolutely. Congratulations. This is something that I'm starting to campaign, Samiksha. And so another thing, when I'm wearing another hat, I also do this in schools. So जो मैंने 1 घंटे में आपको बताया, वो 1 घंटा ही मैं 3 घंटे में बताता हूँ. And I take a 10-day, 1 week long. So basically about 24-25 hours to talk about media literacy at school levels. And believe it or not, they get it. ऐसा नहीं है कि ऐसे स्कूल में बच्चे हैं. नहीं है बच्चे. बच्चे हैं फिर भी बहुत समझदार बच्चे. होनहार बच्चे. So they actually get it, Samiksha. It's not that they don't get it. That's why you're absolutely right. But the problem today, this is only today's problem. It won't be when you become, parents and your children. So that by that time, you are already in that generation which understands this. The problem is my generation right now. That is a problem. We are the problem. We don't know. We don't know the difference. We don't know the distinctions. Only very intelligent, understanding, well-rounded people. Remember, I didn't say educated. Everybody is educated, but they're still media illiterate. It's not their fault. Obviously, it's not their fault. We were not born. I mean, we were not. Internet was not born when I was born. So imagine, like, we have learned everything. So give us some, credit for that. But the problem remains. The problem of illiteracy absolutely remains. So घर में कौन पढ़ाएगा? somebody has to intervene, and that has to be your generation, your younger brother or your nephew or niece who are there. बस स्मार्टफोन पकड़ा दिया. स्मार्टफोन का क्या करना? It's not a tool. It's a weapon. And you have to tell a kid. Great question. Thank you so much. Muted.
Sir, yes, sir, we have many questions from the student side, but we are really running out of time. So we can send these questions to you.
Will be great.
Because the students are really, yes, ma'am.
And sir, we also request you to share this PPT because we are getting requests from students for the same. So whenever you find it convenient, please do that.
Absolutely. I will do it right after this. In fact, I can put it on chat and it's there on my Google Drive. So I can just do that on hosts and panelists and you can further share it.
Yes. Sir. Yes. Sir.
So the session will end, so we'll not get access to the chat here. So maybe you can share it with me. I will circulate it.
No, I will do that. I'll share it separately.
Thank you.
Now I call Mimansha Ranjan from third semester to give a vote of thanks. Mimansha?
Yes, ma'am. A very lovely and pleasant morning to our most valued and worthy guests, honorable teachers, management committee, respected seniors, and my fellow batchmates. It is a matter of pride for me that I'm proposing a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, Mimansha Ranjan, on behalf of Amity School of Communication and the entire fraternity of Amity University, Patna, first of all spread my most sincere thanks to the God for keeping us safe in this turbulent situation. First and foremost, I would like to thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. T.R. Venkatesh Sir, who is the guardian behind all the good things happening at our campus, and respected Pro Vice Chancellor, Dr. Vivekanand Pandey Sir, who always motivates us to do well. We thank you, VC Sir and Pro VC Sir, for your gracious presence in this important session. I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to the guest and speaker, Mr. Shashidhar Nanjundaiah Sir, who spared vital time from his busy schedule and enlightened us on media literacy. Amity School of Communication is known for encouraging students to achieve milestones through innovation, hard work, and perseverance. We believe in learning by doing. This event is just another example of it. I would like to thank the backbone of our department, Professor Shweta Priya ma'am, and would also like to thank Professor Pragati Pallavi ma'am, Professor Juni Kumari ma'am, Professor Rahul Ahuja sir, and Badsha Alam sir for supporting and guiding us towards betterment. Here we are fortunate enough to be backed by a very dedicated and motivated team of our school who know their tasks and are very much result oriented. A heartfelt thanks to the branding and designing team for the branding support and admin staff members for their timely support. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our most sincere gratitude to the IT and technical department for their support and endeavor throughout the event. And at last, I would like to thank all the participants for their involvement and their willingness to take on the completion of tasks beyond their comfort zone. Indeed, we look forward for more such interactive sessions. Thank you all of you for joining this event and making it a huge success.
Thank you, Mimansha.
Thank you, Mimansha.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I saw some great questions in the Q&A as well, and I'm so sorry that I don't have the time. Some really great questions there. So not the chat, but on the Q&A.
Yes,
and
sir.
If at all possible, I would love to answer them. I don't know how. Maybe your technical team can help in that. If that's
we
possible.
have the questions with us. We will share them with you.
Fantastic.
So actually, the other sessions are lined up for the IT team, so they don't get a break between two sessions.
Right.
That is why we'll have to end the session.
Absolutely, no problem at all. So whenever that is possible. And again, thank you very much for having me over. It was great to speak to everybody. I hope I made some sense.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Arvindji. Now we can end the session.